Don't come to the party tonight. He doesn't like you around, my fiancée said about her male best friend. I said, okay. While she was out, I packed my stuff, took back the ring, and disappeared. She came home late to her empty apartment and called me, panicking. Sup, Reddit. I just realized I never told you guys how my engagement ended. Everything was good until her male best friend started hanging around. Then she showed me exactly what her priority was. And I decided nope. I'm out. What followed? Absolute shit show. Grab some popcorn. Name's Nate, 26 male. Logistics coordinator for a regional shipping company. It pays well and I'm good at it. Worked my way up from answering phones to running operations for the entire Western region. No college degree, just 4 years of showing up and figuring things out. Last year I saved the company 200 grand by catching a routing error that would have sent an entire fleet of trucks through a closed mountain pass. Got a bonus and a handshake from the VP. That's the kind of work I do. For 2 years, I was with Madeline. Met her at a friend's birthday party. She was working the room like she owned it. I was near the snack table watching a basketball game because I'm that guy at parties. She walked over, asked what the score was, and somehow we ended up talking for 3 hours. She was beautiful, ambitious, had this energy that made you want to be around her. I proposed after 18 months. She had a one-bedroom apartment in the city, 20 minutes from my job compared to the 90-minute commute from my old place. When she suggested I move in until we found a bigger place after the wedding, it made sense. The arrangement was simple. Her apartment, $1,200 a month. I paid $700, she covered $5. I handled utilities, groceries, and most dates because her income as a social media coordinator was all over the place. I was basically financing her lifestyle while sleeping in her apartment. But that's what you do when you're engaged. You invest in the team. What I didn't account for was Preston. Preston was Madeline's college friend. According to her, he was like a brother. According to me, he was a leech with good hair. 27, technically unemployed, called himself a creative strategist, which meant he took photos sometimes, made Pinterest boards, and talked about personal branding. He came from old money, the kind where wealth is inherited, work is optional, and acting entitled is just how you're raised. Drove a vintage BMW, wore expensive clothes, had this permanent look on his face like he was slightly amused by everything, like the world existed for his entertainment. I tried to like him, shook his hand, asked about his projects, made effort. But Preston looked at me like I wasn't worth noticing. Not hostile, just dismissive. Like I was a piece of furniture he had to put up with for Madeline's sake. First few months, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Didn't want to be the jealous boyfriend who couldn't handle his fiancée having male friends. Then the comments started. He'd bring up Madeline's ex, some investment banker named Chad or Chase. He'd talk about trips they took before I was in the picture. Spring break in Cabo. Music festivals. Always with this tone that felt like he was trying to make a point. He'd reference inside jokes I wasn't part of, then smile like I should find my own exclusion charming. Once he asked if I wore a uniform to work. I told him no, but I could get him one if he ever decided to try having a job. He laughed like I was joking. I wasn't. Another time he asked how long it took me to learn the computer system at work. Like coordinating a multi-state logistics operation was the same as scanning barcodes at a grocery store. I explained that I managed carrier relationships across 6 states and negotiated contracts worth more than his car. He nodded like I was describing my weekend hobby. I let most of it slide, kept my mouth shut, watched. Guys like Preston aren't dangerous. They're just annoying. The best move is to let them expose themselves while you stay above it. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. The night everything shifted started like any other Tuesday. I'd worked a 10-hour day coordinating a shipment reroute after a truck broke down outside Reno with $40,000 worth of electronics sitting in the trailer. My supervisor was breathing down my neck. The client was calling every 30 minutes for updates, and I'd skipped lunch because there wasn't time. I'd solved it, though. Found a backup carrier, negotiated an emergency rate, got the shipment moving again by 4 p.m. The client sent a thank you email to my boss. My boss forwarded it to me with nice work at the top. By the time I got home at 8:30, I wanted food, silence, and maybe a game on TV. Instead, I walked into the kitchen to find Madeline and Preston eating my ramen. Not the cheap instant stuff, the imported kind I'd found online. $15 a pack. Madeline barely looked up when I walked in. She was laughing at something Preston had said. Preston was sitting in my usual seat, the one facing the TV. I grabbed a glass of water and leaned against the counter. That's my ramen, I said, just stating a fact. Preston slurped a noodle with way too much enthusiasm. Madeline said you wouldn't mind. Sharing is caring, right? Sharing means someone asks first. He laughed. Chill out, bro, it's just noodles. You can order more. I can, but I shouldn't have to. Nate. Madeline's voice had that tone. The one that meant I was being the problem. Preston just got back from a really draining photo shoot. He needed something comforting. A photo shoot, I repeated. For what? Preston waved his hand like the question was beneath him. Personal project. Exploring themes of urban isolation through candid street photography. You probably wouldn't get it. It's more of a creative thing. Right, he smirked. I thought about the 18 calls I'd made that day. The carrier I'd sweet-talked into an emergency pickup. The client I'd calmed down with a tracking update and a promise. The disaster I'd prevented because I knew the backup routes by heart. All of it invisible to people like Preston. Nobody said anything for a solid 10 seconds. Enjoy the noodles, I said, and walked to the bedroom. Behind me, I heard him mutter something about me needing to loosen up. Madeline made a sound of agreement, not backing him up completely, but not defending me either. Just said she'd rather keep things smooth than have my back. That was strike one. Strike two came a week later when I came home to find him wearing my jacket. My nice jacket. The leather one I'd bought with my first big bonus at work. He wasn't borrowing it. He was wearing it, like it was his. When I asked about it, Madeline said he'd gotten cold and it was just hanging by the door. When I told him to take it off, he looked at me. It's just a jacket, dude. I'll give it back. Give it back now. He made a whole production of removing it, sighing like this was exhausting, handing it over like he was doing me a favor. Didn't realize you were so attached to your stuff, he said. Didn't realize you had trouble understanding what belongs to who. He blinked. For half a second, I saw something flicker behind his eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or the first hint that I wasn't going to be as easy to push around as he'd figured. But he recovered quick, flashing that smug smile. My bad, man. Won't happen again. It happened again. Different stuff. My shaving cream, my snacks, my spot on the couch. He started leaving his stuff around the apartment like he was marking his territory. A jacket here, shoes there, his fancy camera bag taking up half the kitchen counter. Once I found his phone charger plugged into my nightstand. In our bedroom. He'd been in our bedroom. The worst was when I came home to find him using my gaming setup. My PlayStation, my controllers, my account. He was halfway through the game when I walked in. Hope you don't mind, he said, eyes glued to the screen. Madeline said you wouldn't care. I cared. When I mentioned it to Madeline, she said I was being territorial. Said Preston was just comfortable here. Said that was a good thing. I didn't agree. Strike three was the comment about the ring. We were all sitting in the living room one night. Madeline was showing Preston her wedding Pinterest board, scrolling through venues and dresses and color schemes. He was making occasional sounds of approval, playing the supportive friend role. I was on the couch pretending to watch the game while listening to every word. Wedding planning had become something I watched from the sidelines instead of being part of. Then she showed him a photo of her engagement ring, the one I'd spent 4 months saving for, the one I'd picked out myself after researching cuts and clarity and all that stuff that I'd never cared about until I cared about her. $3,000. Overtime shifts, skipped vacations. Is that what he got you? Preston asked, zooming in on the photo. Yeah. Isn't it beautiful? He studied it, tilted his head. It's nice, for what it is. I felt my jaw tighten. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, man. It's just... He glanced at Madeline. Remember Cameron's ring? The one from Tiffany's? That thing was like 2 carats. Absolute rock. Cameron was different, she said. But she didn't say my ring was better. She didn't defend it. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, poured myself some water. When I came back, they'd moved on to discussing venues. But something had changed. I could feel it. For the next 2 months, I watched my relationship fall apart from the inside. Madeline started spending more time with Preston, planning sessions for his creative projects that never seemed to turn into actual work. Gallery openings where they'd stand around drinking free sparkling water and talking about art they didn't understand. Networking events for industries neither of them actually worked in. The disrespect got bolder. She started comparing us out loud. If I mentioned a raise at work, she'd pivot to something Preston said about passive income. If I suggested a weekend trip, she'd say Preston thought staycations were more authentic. My name became a transition word to get to him. Once I overheard her on the phone with her sister, describing me as stable but boring. She laughed when she said it, like it was a joke, like the guy paying most of her bills was punchline material. One night, I came home with groceries to make her favorite meal. Found a post-it on the counter saying she'd gone to some pop-up event. No text, no heads up, just a note like I was a roommate she barely put up with. Half the time, she'd forget to mention these outings until she was already heading for the door. I'd come home expecting dinner together and find a text saying she'd be back late. Sometimes there'd be an apology, sometimes there wouldn't. The engagement ring started staying in her jewelry box more often than on her finger. She said it was because she didn't want to damage it. I noticed she never forgot to wear it when her parents visited. Meanwhile, I kept paying my share of the rent, kept covering utilities, kept showing up like nothing was wrong because I kept hoping she'd snap out of it. She didn't. The night of the roast happened in late October. Preston was over, again, and they were planning his Halloween costume for some exclusive party a friend of his was throwing. Beckham something. Old money kid with a warehouse loft and more trust fund than taste. You should come, Madeline said to Preston. It's going to be incredible. Beckham rented out an entire warehouse space. Obviously, I'm coming. I helped design the aesthetic for the whole event. He turned to look at me with that smile, the one that never quite reached his eyes. You should come too, Nate. If you can get off work, I can get off work. Really? He raised an eyebrow. I figured logistics guys worked around the clock. All those packages just tracking themselves, right? Something in me snapped. Actually, I said, setting down my soda, let me break something down for you, Preston. Since you've never had a real job, I get that the concept might be confusing. Madeline's head snapped toward me. Nate, my job involves moving physical goods across an entire country. I negotiate rates, solve problems in real time, and work 10-hour days so people like you can order vintage cameras online and have them show up at your door like magic. Meanwhile, you take pictures of streets and call it art. You spend family money and call it a lifestyle. Preston's smile flickered. I wasn't trying to... You've been in this apartment 30 times, eaten my food, worn my clothes, and not once shown even a little respect. You talk down to me like I'm some robot, because I actually work instead of coasting on money you didn't earn. The room went dead quiet. Here's the difference between us. Everything I have, I earned. The ring on Madeline's finger? 4 months of overtime. The jacket you tried to steal? A Christmas bonus. My car? Used, but paid off. His face was cycling through colors like he was having a small breakdown. You're 27 years old, and your greatest achievement is having Instagram followers. I might be a logistics guy who drives a regular car, but at least I'm not some leech with an inflated ego. He stood up so fast. Yeah, I'm done with this. Good. Door's right there. He grabbed his jacket, looked at Madeline like he expected her to stop him. She didn't. Madeline, text me when your fiancé learns how to act like a normal person. The door slammed hard enough to shake the pictures on the wall. Madeline turned on me, her face red with anger. What is wrong with you? He's my friend. You had no right to talk to him like that. He's been disrespecting me for months. In this apartment. Eating food I paid for. Wearing clothes I own. Making comments about the ring I bought you. Those were jokes. You're being way too sensitive about this. I'm being honest. This is my apartment, Nate. You moved in with me. You don't get to kick out my guests. And I've been paying most of the bills since day one. $700 for rent, utilities, groceries, dates. Does that count for anything? Or am I just your ATM? She opened her mouth, closed it. Maybe you should find somewhere else to stay tonight. I looked at her. Maybe I should. I grabbed my jacket and my keys and walked out. I ended up at Milo's place that night. Milo had been my best friend since high school. Network admin, lived alone, had a gaming setup that took up half his apartment, and absolutely no filter. The kind of friend who helps you move on 2 hours' notice and roasts you the entire time. When I showed up at his door at 11 p.m. with a duffel bag, he didn't ask questions, just opened the door wider, pointed at the couch, and went to the kitchen. You want a drink or food first? He called out. Both. He came back with 2 bottles and a bag of chips. Sat down across from me like we were about to break down strategy for a video game instead of my imploding relationship. Madeline? How'd you guess? Because you look like someone told you your dog died, and you don't have a dog. So it's either work, family, or Madeline. And you'd still be at work if it was work, and you'd be on a plane if it was family. I let the silence stretch. She kicked me out. Milo whistled low. What went down? I told him everything. The ramen thing, the jacket theft, the ring comment that had been eating at me for months, the 2 months of slow deterioration, the roast I'd finally unleashed on Preston, Madeline's reaction. Milo listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a second. Then he leaned back and nodded. So you finally told Trust Fund Boy what you thought of him, and Madeline picked his feelings over yours. Pretty much. Good. I looked up. Good? Yeah, good. Better you find out now than after you're married with a mortgage and a kid. She showed you who she is, bro. When it came down to choosing between defending you or keeping some unemployed trust fund leech happy, she picked the leech. That tells you everything. I was with her for 2 years, Milo. 2 years. And now you're not. Call it a lesson. He stood up, grabbed a blanket from the closet, and tossed it at me. Guest room's yours for as long as you need. We'll figure out the logistics tomorrow. Tonight, you sleep. The logistics, I repeated, half laughing despite everything. Seemed appropriate given your line of work. I didn't sleep much that night. But somewhere around 3 a.m., I realized the knot in my chest had loosened. Not gone, but different. Less anger, more relief. The next morning, Milo made breakfast. Eggs, toast, coffee. Didn't ask about my feelings. Just put food in front of me and turned on SportsCenter. We watched highlights in silence. Exactly what I needed. I stayed at Milo's for 6 weeks. Guest room with a bed and his old college posters on the walls. I insisted on covering groceries and utilities. He called it the friend discount. The first week, I just worked. Went through the motions, came home, ate, slept. Repeat. Milo didn't push me to talk. Didn't offer advice unless I asked. He just made sure there was food in the fridge, kept the PlayStation charged, and beat me at Madden every night until I started fighting back. That's when he knew I was getting better. There he is, he said when I finally won a game. Angry Nate is back. Madeline's loss. I'm not angry. Bro, you just ran up the score by 40 points. You're a little angry. Fair point. The second week, Milo bought a whiteboard and mounted it in the kitchen. At the top, he wrote, "Days without Madeline" in blue marker. Below it, he started keeping a running tally with commentary. Day 1. Survived. No crying detected. Day 7. Still breathing. Credit score intact. Day 14. No regret texts sent. Growth. It was dumb. Exactly what I needed. On day 18, I went back to Madeline's apartment to get my stuff. She wasn't there. I'd timed it on purpose after checking her Instagram and seeing she had a brunch event that would keep her busy until at least 2. Milo came with me as backup. 2 guys move boxes faster than one, and I wanted to be in and out before she got back. Where do we start? Milo asked. Bedroom closet. Most of my stuff is in there. Got it. I'll grab boxes from the car. We worked fast and efficient. Milo took the living room while I handled the bedroom. I packed everything that was mine into boxes. Clothes, books, my gaming stuff, toiletries, the good kitchen tools I'd brought when I moved in, the imported ramen I'd ordered to replace what they'd eaten, my jackets, all of them, since I wasn't leaving any behind for future theft. While I was packing, I found a framed photo of us from our first trip together. Beach vacation, 6 months into dating. We both looked happy. I left it on her nightstand. You want this lamp? Milo called from the living room. Nope, that's hers. The Xbox? Definitely mine. I left behind only the things we'd bought together. The coffee maker we'd picked out at a home store. The bedding set she'd convinced me we needed. The stuff that was jointly ours. And the ring. In the end, I took it. $3,000 I'd saved from overtime. The relationship was over, but my money was still my money. I found it in her jewelry box. Looked at it for a second, then put it in my pocket. I left a note on the counter. Engagement is off. I've taken back the ring. Mail forwarding is set up. Good luck with everything. Dash. Then I walked out and didn't look back. Milo was waiting with the rental truck outside. Got everything? Everything that matters. Including the ring? I pulled out the box, showed him. He grinned. That's my boy. $3,000 is $2,000. 2 after resale, probably. The market for these things sucks. Still, justice served. He started the truck. You know what the best part is? 6 months from now, some other guy is going to buy that ring for his girlfriend, and he'll have no idea it's recycled karma. That's dark. That's life. We drove away. Every block I felt lighter. The flying monkeys came right on schedule. Madeline's mom called first, 3 days after I moved out. Her voice could have cut glass. Nate, I need you to explain what's going on. Madeline is devastated. She says you took the ring and abandoned her. The engagement is off. I took the ring because I paid for it, and I moved out because she asked me to. Not sure what else you need to know. That ring was a promise. You can't just take it back. Actually, I can. When an engagement ends, the ring goes back to whoever bought it. That's me. If Madeline wants to fight that, she can talk to a lawyer. This is cold. I always knew you weren't good enough for her. Then sounds like it all worked out. She's free to find someone who meets your standards. I hung up while she was still sputtering. Milo heard the whole thing from the kitchen. Brutal, he said, sounding impressed. She started it. Oh, I'm not criticizing. That was beautiful. Then came her sister, who left a voicemail calling me selfish and cold. Then her cousin, who sent a text saying, I'd regret walking away from the best thing that ever happened to me. Then 2 friends from college I'd met exactly once at some party. both of whom felt the need to share their opinions on my character. The best one was her aunt, who I'd never even spoken to. She found me on social media to tell me that Madeline deserved better and that I'd shown my true colors. I blocked her mid-sentence. I stopped answering calls. Let everything go to voicemail. Didn't respond to any of it. Milo started keeping a tally on his whiteboard, right below the days without Madeline counter. Flying monkey count 7. He added little notes next to each tally mark. Mom, aggressive. Sister, crying. Random aunt, blocked immediately. You're enjoying this too much, I told him. Someone has to. You're too busy being all stoic about it. He added another mark. Oh, this one's good. Some guy named Trevor just DM'd you on Instagram calling you a coward. You know a Trevor? No idea. Cool. Blocking Trevor. He did it with satisfaction. Coward. That's rich coming from a guy whose profile pic is him holding a fish. He had a point. A week later, Madeline's college friend Piper reached out. She was the exception. Actually wanted to hear my side of the story. I gave her the short version. She was quiet for a minute, then said, That tracks. Madeline's been posting a lot about toxic masculinity and emotional unavailability. I wondered what happened. Now you know. Farasam, for what it's worth, I always thought you were good for her. Reliable. The kind of guy who actually shows up. Apparently, that's not what she wanted. Her loss. At least someone in Madeline's circle had some sense. Meanwhile, Madeline's Instagram told its own story. Photos from brunch with captions about self-care. Events with Preston. Quotes about growth and transformation. One post caught my attention. Selfie. Contemplative look. Caption. Choosing peace over settling for less than I deserve. Sometimes the hardest choices lead to the most beautiful growth. Milo screenshot it. This is going on the fridge, he announced. Why? Motivation. Every time you feel tempted to reach out, you look at this masterpiece of delusion and remember what you escaped. He taped it next to the grocery list. She spelled deserve wrong, I noticed. Even better. Let her find herself with bad spelling. The ring sold for $2,300. Not the full $3,000 I'd paid, but the resale market for engagement rings is brutal. I put the money directly into my savings, earmarked for a security deposit. Milo called it emotional severance pay. I found my own apartment on day 42. 1 bedroom, 15-minute commute, reasonable rent. Mine. No one else's name on the lease. Milo helped me carry boxes up 3 flights of stairs. By the time we were done, we were both drenched in sweat and questioning our life choices. This better be worth it, he panted, collapsing onto my new couch. Well, new to me. I'd bought it off some guy on the internet for $200. It already is. He looked around. The place looked like someone was either moving in or getting evicted. Hard to tell which. You need furniture. I need a nap. You need both, but nap first. The couch was the priority. Everything else can wait. We ordered pizza and ate it on the floor because I didn't have a table yet. You know what I don't get? Milo said, halfway through his 3rd slice. Preston, what was his deal? What do you mean? Like, what did he want? He's got money. He's got his own place. Why spend so much time at her apartment, eating your food, wearing your clothes, disrespecting you in front of your fiancé? I'd thought about this. A lot. Power. He wanted to prove he could take whatever he wanted and nobody would stop him. Madeline was just a way to do that. I was just an obstacle to step over. That's messed up. Well, he's someone else's problem now. Amen to that. That night, I sat on my couch in my empty apartment. No Madeline, no Preston, no drama. Perfect. 2 months into my new life, I got a text from Piper, Madeline's college friend. She was one of the few people from Madeline's circle who'd stayed neutral during the split. Hey, got a minute? Need to tell you something. I called her that night. What's up? It's about Madeline and Preston. Things are falling apart. She told me everything. Apparently, Preston had been promoting some kind of creative collective for months. An arts funding initiative. A community of creatives pooling resources to support each other's projects. It sounded legit on the surface. Website, social media presence, testimonials. He'd pitched it to everyone in his network, including Madeline. She'd invested $3,000. Money she definitely didn't have to spare, especially after I stopped paying for half her life. The problem was, the whole thing was a scam. Classic setup. Early investors got paid with new investors' money. The people running it skimmed off the top. And when the whole thing inevitably collapsed, the money disappeared. The operation was simple but effective. They'd host exclusive events, create the illusion of a thriving creative community, then pitch attendees on investment opportunities. Fund this documentary. Back this gallery show. Support this emerging artist collective. The money went into a black hole while the guys at the top lived large. Preston wasn't the mastermind. He was a recruiter. His job was to use his social connections, bring in marks who trusted him, and collect a cut on every investment. He probably didn't even know it was fraud at first, but by the time he figured it out, he was in too deep to back out. Or maybe he just didn't care. She's tried to reach him for weeks, Piper said. He blocked her everywhere. Won't return calls, won't answer texts. The website is gone. Everyone's just stuck holding the bag. How much did she lose? $3,000, plus whatever she spent going to events trying to look like she belonged. She's broke, Nate. Actually broke. Moving back in with her mom. Why are you telling me this? Because she's been telling people you ruined her life. That if you hadn't left, none of this would have happened. I just thought you should know what's being said. I laughed. So she got scammed by the guy she chose over me and somehow that's my fault? Logic isn't really her thing right now. She's embarrassed and broke and looking for someone to blame. And Preston? Gone. Blocked everyone. Word is his family finally cut him off. Apparently there's only so many times you can embarrass old money before they stop writing checks. Thanks for the heads up. What are you going to do? Nothing. None of this is my problem anymore. I meant it. The first time I saw Preston after everything collapsed, I was grabbing coffee near my office. It was a regular Tuesday morning. I just closed a deal with a new carrier that was going to save the company 15% on Western routes. My boss had sent me a great work email. Life was good. Then I spotted him in line and almost didn't recognize him. He looked worn down. Clothes still expensive, but they hung weird on him now. The smug expression was gone, replaced with something tired. The vintage BMW was gone too, sold to cover debts. The guy who used to radiate trust fund confidence now looked like he was doing mental math on whether he could afford the large or had to stick with the medium. He didn't notice me until he turned around with his coffee. Our eyes met. He froze. Nate? What's up? Long silence. Look, man, he started. About everything that happened? Don't. I just want you to know, I didn't mean for things to go the way they did. The collective thing? I didn't know it was a scam at first. I lost money too. He shifted around, uncomfortable. My family cut me off, said I needed to learn responsibility. First time in my life I've had to actually budget for groceries. That sounds rough. It is. I've been doing freelance stuff just to cover rent. Actual work. Stuff I used to think was beneath me. It's been humbling. I bet. He looked at me with something that might have been hope, like we were going to bond over shared hard times. Like the fact that he was now facing consequences meant we were suddenly equals. We weren't. Madeline's not doing great either, he offered, clearly grasping for some kind of connection. She blames me for the investment thing. We haven't talked in weeks. She called me a con artist. Can you believe that? I can, actually. His face tightened. I wasn't trying to con anyone. I believed in the project. You believed in the commission you were getting for bringing in marks. That's different. That's not... Save it, Preston. I don't care about your problems. You're standing here hoping for sympathy because your lifestyle of zero accountability finally caught up with you. He opened his mouth, closed it. For once, he had nothing to say. Here's the thing, I continued. You spent months treating me like I was beneath you. You encouraged Madeline to see me the same way. And now that your world of vibes and creative energy and trust fund security has fallen apart, you want me to tell you it's going to be okay? I just thought, you thought wrong. Good luck with the freelance work. I grabbed my coffee and headed for the door. I walked out. My coffee was still hot. And somewhere behind me, a guy who called my job button pushing was about to go shoot real estate photos for a living. Life comes at you fast. The final encounter with Madeline happened 3 weeks later. I was leaving my apartment building when I saw her waiting on the sidewalk. She looked thinner, tired, cheaper clothes than usual. Nate, I stopped. I know you don't want to see me. I just need 5 minutes, please. I could have walked past her, but I was curious how this was going to play out. Talk. She took a breath, looked down at her hands, then back up at me. I messed up. I know that. I let Preston get in my head. I took you for granted. Everything you did for us. For me, I just let it slide because I was stupid, and I wanted to feel special, and he made me feel like I was part of something exciting. Okay, that's all you have to say? What do you want me to say? That I forgive you? That I understand? I want you to know I'm sorry. Actually sorry. Not because things went bad for me, but because I see now what I threw away. I leaned against my car, crossed my arms, looked at her. You spent 2 years making me feel like I wasn't enough. You let your college friend mock me in my own home. And when I finally stood up for myself, you chose him over me. I know. And now he's gone. Took your money and vanished. The guy you defended over me, The guy whose opinions mattered more than mine? He ghosted you the second things got hard. Her eyes welled up. He used me. He got me into that investment thing and then bailed. I lost $3,000, Nate. Money I put on a credit card. I lost my apartment because I couldn't make rent. Well, that sucks. She flinched. I was wrong. Yeah, you were. She wiped her eyes. Straightened up. Tried to pull herself together. So that's it? There's nothing I can do? No way to fix this? You can move on. But it's not going to be with me. I'm asking for a second chance, Nate. One more shot to prove I've changed. I pushed off from the car and unlocked the door. Here's the thing about second chances. They only work when the person asking has actually done the work to change. You haven't. You're here because your plan A fell through, and you're hoping the backup plan is still available. But I was never a backup plan, Madeline. I was just too dumb to realize that's how you saw me. That's not... It is. And we both know it. I opened the car door, looked at her one last time. Goodbye, Madeline. I hope you figure out what you actually want, but do it somewhere else. I'm done being your safety net. For good. I got in, started the engine, and pulled away from the curb. In the rearview mirror, I watched her standing on the sidewalk, crying. 6 months later, I got promoted to Regional Operations Manager. 15% raise, company car, my own office with a door that closes. Milo threw me a party at his place. Just some guys from work, a few old friends, pizza, and the game on TV. Good stuff. Halfway through the night, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. It was Piper. Thought you'd want to know, she said. Preston got arrested. I paused. For what? Wire fraud. Turns out the guys who ran that creative collective flipped on everyone to cut deals with the feds. Preston was named as a co-conspirator. They're saying he knowingly recruited investors after he found out it was a scam. How much time is he looking at? 3 to 5, probably. His family's lawyers are trying to work something out. But apparently Daddy's money has limits when federal charges are involved. I stepped onto the balcony. And Madeline, still at her mom's, got a job as a receptionist at a dentist's office. Deleted all her social media. I heard she's trying to pay off the credit card debt from that investment. Going to take her years. That's rough. You don't sound too broken up about it. I'm not. Piper laughed. Fair enough. Anyway, congrats on the promotion. I saw the announcement on LinkedIn. You deserve it. Thanks, Piper. I hung up and went back inside. Later that night, after everyone left, I helped Milo clean up. He was scrubbing the carpet stain when he looked up at me. You good? Yeah, I'm good. You've been quiet since that phone call. Preston got arrested. Federal wire fraud charges. Milo stopped scrubbing. I told him the updates. You're messing with me. He stood up, walked to the kitchen, and came back with drinks. To karma, he said. We clinked cans. My apartment was quiet when I got back. I sat on my couch and thought about how different things could have been. If I'd stayed, if I'd apologized, if I'd let them keep treating me like furniture. But I didn't, and that made all the difference. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.